Shabbat, shalawam, Kodash, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Sabayah, meaning holy, 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 Lord of hosts, Yah, He, Ba, He, Tetragrammaton of hosts, of armies and vessels. Alright, today we're going to jump back in the book of secret wisdom, the prophetic record of human destiny and evolution. We're going to jump into stanza number 8. It is titled as The Love of the Heart. Alright, let's jump right into it. The light began to glimmer with the new fires. We know that the fires are symbolic to the spirit. And the new fire, so basically the new spirit, the new energy that's coming upon the planet, blazing in people's hearts. Your hearts, it's in your breast. The consciousness and the heart are two different things. Some people have a stony heart, and the key to wisdom is uncovering your heart, removing the stoniness and the bitterness from your heart, and removing pride so that endless love can come in. There's nothing to block that love. So fires were carrying the joy of illumination with them, endowing human souls with wisdom's insight. This new rhythm was in perfect tune with the heart, this frequency, for it brought enlightenment to the world. Knowledge, basically waking people up from their slumber, so enlightening them, showing them things that they didn't know before. Their minds were asleep and dormant. 72. The stream of time was rapidly pouring forth, introducing invocations everywhere, and the heart became ever more open and refined. It was responding with pain to the pain of the world. It was throbbing and trembling from grief and despair and sympathy with all sufferers, seized with the sensitivity of universal anguish. It sometimes even stopped missing a beat. The heart was behaving very mysterious ways, for it was no longer subject to human control. And if one did not take good care of this sensitive sounding board, it would fall silent forever, handing one over to the cold hands of death. Thus, at the cost of its life, it had come to be treated as a mere object of scientific study. The cold, petrified, immortal organ began to be manipulated by mortal hands, meaning human hands. Not understanding their own heart, people attempted to comprehend somebody else's. So basically worrying about everything but yourself. You don't understand yourself, but you're trying to understand everything else that's under the sun. Like I tell people all the time, you can't be real with somebody else if you don't be real with yourself. And if you don't know yourself, and don't know what your driving force is, how are you gonna be real with somebody else or bring something out of somebody else to be even worried about what they're doing when you're not even right within yourself? But once one first had to learn the language of one's own heart, see? Which alone made it possible to understand another's. See, I didn't even know that before I said that. Only the heart was capable of rendering assistance in the study of the heart. The mind had to tame its wagging tongue and yield the floor to the silent currents of the heart. A sheet of cotton batting swaddled the heart, which was still radiating warmth. Other hearts, both large and small, were reposing in glass jars, resting on torn threads, the very same thread through which life had earlier been streaming. In darkly transparent liquid, here was where the heart was being studied, and the hearts of the living flinched in pain. What could these already sealed lips speak of except perhaps about death, which had in the meantime turned them to stone? Only the living tender heart was in a position to share anything significant about itself, and it was speaking. The living ought therefore to listen to the living, for only in this way are mysteries comprehended. 74. The obstacles, the definition of obstacles mean to block passage to growth. So something can prosper, normally an obstacle will get in the way to block the passage to the growth for a seed that might be planted to bring forth harvest and blossom. Some people, they'll poison the soil, or they'll deprive it of the nutrients that it needs to get forward, so therefore it becomes an obstacle. Things that get in the way to stop growth. The obstacles erected by the hands of the darkness gradually loosen their holds. So those are the strongholds, but they becoming loosened, so things are becoming easier, therefore righteousness will be able to prosper. Man had wended a long and tiresome way towards himself. Indeed, the trek to draw closer to his own heart had lasted millennium. So basically telling you, trekking to your own heart, basically you seeking in everything else, but instead of digging down within your own self eternally and finding the eternal Yah in you and finding the answers that you need. He said, man had wended a long and tiresome way towards himself. Indeed, the trek to draw closer to his own heart had lasted millennium, and he was not deprived of his reward. Remember in the Bible, the Most High said, those that endure to the end shall not be disappointed. The heart had been waiting a long time for this moment, throbbing on the blood-stained table of oblation, where it had been tossed by man himself. By his own gentle hand, he should have lifted up that treasure and set up an altar to it, nourishing the heavenly love for his own heart, which welled up from deep within his soul. No, he could no longer expose to the ravenous hunger of darkness that most gentle and tender organ which he had been entrusted to him by the Lord of eternity himself. I want to elaborate on that real quick. Most people think that you got to go to a church or a building or an institution, but you don't realize in the book of Genesis, it said Elohim said, let us create them in our image. Basically meaning our bodies are the temple of God. God inhabits vessels. Why do you think I say Kudash, 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 holy, holy, holy? Adonai, Elohim, Sabayath. Sabayath means of hosts. We are the hosts. We are the vessels. We are the shells. We are inhabited by spirits. And that spirit that live within us, the Most High. Our soul and our spirit are two different things. Our souls, we have souls that inhabit multiple spirits, which could be good or bad. Our job is to bring a balance and control and tame these things and reach our higher self and understand what we're up against. But back to this. entrusted to him by the Lord of eternity himself. Had not his hand stopped the motion of time. Had not his hand stopped the motion of time. This means an intervention. Thereby cutting off the currents which stream through the threads of life and preventing an unworthy vessel from receiving this sacred gift. So the Most High intervenes because, as he says in the Bible, the world is given into the hands of the wicked. And he also talks about do not cast pearls in front of swine, because everything is not for everybody. Some people take a good thing and pervert it into something bad. They're not using it for the greater good of humanity, but they're using it for their own personal gain, greed, and lust. So therefore, the Most High has to do an intervention. Some things are hidden and laid dormant, just like in the book of Daniel. He says, seal those books up to the end time for the elect. Because certain things could not get into the hands of other people. For one, they wouldn't even be able to comprehend them. For two, they didn't have the spirit to understand it. So therefore, as science always does, for something that they can't explain, they always put an outrageous number on it, or basically explain it backwards. So therefore, you don't even know the truth, because they don't even know the truth. But when it gets into the right hands, it becomes so fluent. You will know, like I say all the time, you will know the truth when you hear the truth. You know, you cannot pervert the truth, because the truth will set you free. Like I said, people, places, and things will lie, but consistencies and patterns won't. And you will know the truth when you hear the truth, because the person with the right spirit, it's just like, you ever seen the movie? I forgot what movie it is. It's when the sword is in the rock. Everybody's trying to pull that sword out the rock, but they said only a worthy person of that can do that will be able to pull that sword out the rock. Just like in the Marvels with Thor, you know, he was the only person that could inhabit that hammer. You know, even when the evil inclination came to him and they cast it away to the earth, nobody could really lift that hammer and touch that hammer. But he showed himself worthy, and he was able to get his gift back, you know, as it was taken away. So back to this. Unworthy vessels from receiving their sacred gifts. Yes, the heart indeed belong to heaven. In Hebrew, the heaven is called the Shamayim. The Shamayim. Ha-Shamayim. Ha means the, Shamayim means heaven. Understanding. In Hebrew, understanding is called benai. And when you put El on the end of benai, it becomes an angel. Benai El, which is an energy, which is a dignity, which is from the celestial, the upper world, but which lives inside of our vessels, our hosts, which is our temple. We are the temple. That's why the Most High said, we shall not defile our temples. Understanding only the language of heaven, which is the Shemayim. Every instant is appealed to its owner to speak the same language, the language of love. The language of love is a frequency, it's a feeling. What's real you can feel, what's fake you can't relate. But this is a heavenly love. Most people down here in this realm can't comprehend it. You know, the truth is stranger than fiction. So when people become presented with this love, they do not know how to take it. Some people think it's too good to be true. It's unreal. That's why many are called, few are chosen. And it's only a handful that act of the light bearers that actually their light is so radiant and it rubs off on people. And most people can feel it when they come in contact with it. Most people hate it. Most people, they don't know what to do with it or deal with it, you know? But the language of love is a frequency from the Most High that dwells within certain vessels of hosts. Those who were closest to the heart were its subjects. Those who had destroyed the invisible obstacle. The invisible obstacle. That is the darkness that lives through people, places, and things. As the Zohar calls it, the evil inclination. Just like in Revelation, it talks about the beast. And that beast that it's talking about, it's not talking about a physical animal. It's talking about a system as a collective whole. Just like it talks about an antichrist. The antichrist is anything that's against the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, which is anti-God. They are perverters. They are the ones that divert you from the truth into the lie and tell you that the law is done away with, because they're all part of the beast. The beast, which is that system, which most of them are anti-Christ. And Christ comes from the Greek word Christos. Christos means anointed one. So the Messiah means the anointed one. The messianic energy that will be an elect in the end time. That's why it says the Messiah will dwell with them for 1,000 years. Who has destroyed the invisible obstacle on the way to their own heart, became possessors of the immortal elixir of life. The immortal elixir of life. The heart was fully obedient to the man that had overcome all the obstacles to reach it. So these are the ones that are going through the most trials and tribulations on the earth, but they're overcoming. They're learning from their trial and their error. So the things that is designed to hurt them are actually making them stronger, because their spirit won't let them crack under pressure. They continue to strive and learn from their mistakes instead of cursing the whole world and blaming everybody, because most spiritual beings know that everything happens for a reason, because they walk by faith, not by sight. So they know that there is a significance that everything is happening. Well, even though they can't see it, they can feel it, because they deal with the frequency of love. Was fully obedient to the man that had overcome all the obstacles to reach it. You have to go through the fire to become 24K gold. It gave itself over entirely to the power of those with whom it can converse in the same language. So this is what I talk about in these other videos, when the wheat comes back connected with the shaft. When the terrestrial, us, the host, become back connected with the celestial, the angelics, these energies. They come back and greet us wholeheartedly. Heaven and earth become back connected. Just as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. But these people under this different energy in this new eons of life, of these new currents and periods and cycles which we are in, the Great Reset, which is also known as the Great Tribulation, and which is considered an apocalypse, a great revealing, a great renewing. Because when things are revealed, it changes the way people think, and it enlightens them and wakes them up, because all these truths are coming to the surface all at once. It gave itself over entirely to the power of those with whom it could converse in the same language. So this power is going to be given to those that can understand it on that frequency. So therefore, they have a better ideology and a spiritual understanding to do what's right, righteous. Righteous meaning rightful thinking. Wicked meaning wrongful thinking with the W. You know, people, they worry so much about what other people think or how things are set up with institutions. The Most High deals with intent. He knows your intent. So sometimes you might be doing something you think is wrong, but your intent is good. But what you think is wrong is not really wrong, because the laws of man have nothing to do with the laws of God. Sin is only the transgression of the laws of the Most High God, you know? And the way we perceive things, it kind of messes us up in our ideology. But that's why the Most High has, you know, mercy for us, you know? Because he knows what we are up against, you know? It gave itself entirely to the power of them whom it could converse in the same language. The heart was ready to beat eternally. This is when the spirit, those new flames of fire, warming with the currents of love, the divine soul, the divine soul, the divine soul. Key words. You always got to listen out for the key words. Which was following its own lonely path in the world. That small path, that narrow path, not the wide path where everybody else was following. Satan deceiveth the whole world. Satan deceiveth the whole world. And when I say Satan, I'm talking about the whole evil inclination. Those that worship the creature more than the creator. The creature is science. Science is everything against the Most High God, because the Most High eternally within us creates his own science called the inferior quant that allows us to tap into things beyond our five senses. Why do you think in the movie Pocahontas, when the Europeans came to the New World, they called the Indians savages? Because they didn't understand their spirituality, how they could converse with nature, talk to trees, talk to plants, talk with animals, because they understood those things. They had a more spiritual understanding, where the other nations, the Europeans, they only could tap into physical things in which they could see present in front of them, but not eternally how they could connect with all the things that were around them. You get what I'm saying? He said, warming with the currents of the divine soul, which was following its own lonely path in the world, the narrow path, not the wide path. It was embracing both its owners, and those around him with immortal currents of love. And man cherished the treasure entrusted to him. This is the treasure deep within us. To him as the apple of his eye, understanding that while it was radiant love, he too would live and fulfill the divine mission of love. What do you see happening now? We are fulfilling this divine mission of love. Even when we got all the odds stacked against us. Even when people think we're crazy for saying these things. Because people in high and wicked places, they know these things to be truth, but the biggest cover up in history was to whitewash history, sweep these things under the rug, and reprogram people with all the distractions and all the blasphemy and lies and misinformation that's going on in the world, which we know is the media. 76, the heart fell silent at the very moment when it sensed man rejected love. So that means that we weren't able to tap into these powers eternally anymore, because we fell away from that understanding. A whole new ideology was implemented when our heritage was stolen from us. It could not emanate hatred, as it was attuned to the universal rhythm of eternity, which was pulsating with the currents of love. The living heart was made to love, and if it did not love, that meant it was dead, and its trembling would fade away after sounding its last mechanical throbs. But this was no longer the action of the heart, which could breathe only the vital, palpitating fires of love, spirits of love. It was simply a thick clot of matter, petrified with anger, which it had attempted to put in the place of the human heart. The hand of darkness desired to wind up the invisible mainsprings of such devices to serve her gloomy purpose. They were like bombs lurking in the breast meaning in the heart, which would set off explosions, filling all human beings with malicious arrogance and a creed though dying away. The darkness had not lost her cunning and inventiveness. Many gave their hearts into her hands, to the hands of the darkness, the evil inclination, worshiping the world. The world is given into the hands of the wicked. For they did not know love. Most people don't really know what love is. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Feel me? There still was not enough love in the world, and the force of evil took advantage of that. See, love is really a minority. It's not the majority. It's only few people with this real strong love frequency from the eternal flame of fire, of spirit, you know? And these are the ones that was marked from their birth. 77. Many had tasted the light and knew the power of the life-giving fires. The taste of victory, which is netzach in Hebrew, was intoxicating, giving life a new face and making it more attractive than before. But the first step taken now called for a second, higher step. The darkness could still easily sweep away those who had stepped a single rung higher, but those who were already standing on the higher rungs of the ladder, this ladder, Jacob's ladder, this ladder, light, were no longer within her reign. So these people that already surpassed others and already done went through the fire and already done turned themselves to 24K gold, the evil inclination could not touch them anymore. Just like when Satan, the devil, came to Job, and he wanted to test Job, and he asked the Most High, said, why don't you test him? He said, basically, Job, which is Iob, is protected. He has that veil of light. We can't get to him. And then the Most High granted him to try Job, and you know the rest of that story, how that went down, you know? Job lost his whole family. He went through everything to make him doubt his faith, and Job never cursed the Most High from it. He knew everything was happening for a reason, but he did curse the day he was born, because even birthdays are significant, and it tells you about that in the 6th and 7th book of Moses under the zodiac chart, because we all have our time and we all have our number when we come in the world under different planetary alignments that are governed by different heavenly bodies and angels, where we grasp certain energy from and attributes. That's why certain people under the same zodiacs have the same attributes under different planetary alignments and energies under the order of the Most High, because he created all things, and it's a hierarchy. Just as well as we can command the angels, because the angels were made to be at our service, just as we were made to be at the Most High service. We are his arms, feet, and head on the ground, because once you learn that you are the temple and he inhabits your host, but you have to ascend to your higher self, and you have to meet him halfway in order for him to do that. It doesn't come easy how these churches try to make it seem. That's why in Revelation it says many are going to come to him and say that they have known him, and he's going to turn them away and say they have known him not. It's a prime example why. It makes all the sense. The truth, you will know the truth when you hear the truth, because it's going to make sense. And you can cross-examine everything. It don't matter what book you're reading out of. The Most High is in every book. The Most High is vast countenance. He is the macro prosophist, just as we are the micro prosophist. He is a higher, a higher. I am that I am. He is Yahweh, he that is and will be. By Hashem, coming in the name. Yahweh Shai, he is salvation. These is all his attributes through the line of all his creation. The light was no longer within her range. Darkness couldn't touch them no more. Those robed in someone else's fiery glow, claiming it for their own, were easily swept away by the darkness. These are the people that are in power right now, trying to portray to be something that they are not. portraying to be holier than thou. Just like in Stanza 7, it talked about that. And all these people under this facade. Just like Revelation 2 and 9 says, he knows our work, our tribulation, and our poverty. Because we're at this low frequency, but we are rich. You know why we are rich? Because the gifts of heaven are eternally within us, and we have to unlock them. He said he knows our works, our tribulation, and our poverty, but we are rich. And he knows the blasphemy of them that say they are Yahudis, which it says Jews in English, but are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. These are the people that run the banking industry. These are the people that run the news and media outlet. These are the people that run the porn industry. These are the people in high and wicked places, pretending, hiding under a cover-up and a facade that are not. They do not have that eternal flame of light. And if you notice, us, we are naturally spiritual people. We don't have the souls in ignorance. Even though we do bad things because the way we was programmed to do, you know, a lot of the stuff that goes on in the hoods and ghettos in our neighborhoods, but that was all set up by design. You know how many years that took in the making for them to set the